Moimodu and TVC News in our Abuja studio for FCT Brief, talking about the president's marching orders to address matters around insecurity. Good morning, guys. How are you doing this morning? Handing over the conversation to you.
Good morning, Veronica. It's good to be back. It's another Monday. Thank God it's Monday. Thank
God it's Monday indeed. And TJ, I guess you don't have a strategy how to deal with the security challenges.
I'm not a security person.
Exactly.
I'm just a journalist. And my own is to discuss and pass on information to Nigerians. But it's a good one to see that President Bola Tinubu is taking the bull by the horn, speaking to the military, the men in boots on ground, to take charge of the situation, because a lot of lives have been lost. It's quite an unfortunate situation, and drastic measures need to be taken.
Indeed, drastic measures. Probably something different from what we've been doing.
Exactly.
Let's get to see what we have here.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us on the program this morning. This is FCT Brief, a segment of TVC Breakfast Show, reaching you live from our Abuja studio. Now, President Bola Tinubu says Nigerians are counting on the troops of the Nigerian military to reclaim the country's territory from bandits and terrorists. The president, who addressed the troops during his visit to Katsina on Friday, described them as brave and gallant defenders of the nation. The president also described the soldiers as the shield of the country, standing between the people and the forces of terror. He said the operation undertaken by the troops in Katsina and across the country are not just a battle for territory, but a battle for the soul of Nigeria.
President Tinubu acknowledges the challenges faced by the troops, noting that the government is taking bold steps to equip them with advanced equipment, superior intelligence, and robust logistical support. He said the threats of terrorism, banditry, and kidnapping had persisted for too long. The president said, and I quote, "As your president, I will match your courage with action, investment, and unwavering support," end of quote. For more on this presidential directive to troops in the Northeast, let's speak with a security expert, Mike Ejiofor, who is live in the studio with us. Good morning. Nice to have you here.
You're welcome, Mr. Ejiofor.
Thank
you very much.
Now, let's start this way. The war against terror, banditry, about three presidents, President Jonathan, Yar'Adua, Jonathan, Buhari, try to prosecute this war, and the incumbent is also doing that. Now, what exactly do you think Mr. President and the troops should be doing differently so that we can finally contain this terror?
Well, I think during your intro, TJ, I guess,
yes,
yeah,
you talked about not being a security man or a woman. Of course, everybody is security. The difference is that there are practitioners. You can make a lot of contribution to change these narratives. So by that, you're also a security practitioner.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to also, everybody to take note that we're all involved in this thing. We should not leave it to our security agencies alone. Having said that, the president, like you rightly said, every president will come and give directive. We want this war ended now. Well, but how can we get the war ended when we are doing the same thing the same way and expect a different result? But I think, if I'm right, this is the first time, I might be corrected, that the president is visiting the troops. And I also want to encourage him to begin to visit the troops as moral booster. Like he said, he's not just giving directives, that he's going to match his words with action. In fact, I've been away, I've not been following. So I saw some videos, I don't know, but I've not seen any conventional news outlet when some British soldiers were introduced. I don't know the reliability. But such partnership will definitely change the narrative. Boosting the morale of the troops, matching it, like you said in your intro. All these operations are intelligence driven. And leadership in the state security staff is also changing the narratives by providing intelligence, even though he doesn't want to come out to tell people what he's doing. But you can see arrests have been made, with recoveries of arms. You know, you saw the one involving the British soldier, that the British is also denying now that he's not one of them, that he was there before. Naturally, that must be their reaction. So I think the president has done well, and the troops too will be encouraged to do more. Like I said, we should not leave these things to our troops alone. Everybody must be involved. You know, I organized a seminar, you know, on February 13 precisely, when the DGSSS called on Nigerians to form the first line of defense. That's the way to go. We cannot fold our hands and leave the security agencies alone. If you come to Abuja here, for instance, the suburbs. No, let's not go to the suburbs now. You go to Asokoro here, where we are broadcasting from. Ask one man on one number of a street whether he knows the next person. He doesn't know. Because everybody feels we're all big men. Nobody cares. But within such areas, such highbrow areas, you're supposed to form groups, even if you are not participating directly. Get your guards, educate them, and let them get involved. You see foreign movements, you know, suspicious movements, they should be able to report. Then if you leave the highbrow areas, well, in fact, I'm happy that people in the suburbs are more organized in terms of security awareness and alertness in assisting the security agencies. But for the elites, it's not there. They just expect the troops, and because, of course, the reasons are obvious. They have their own escort. They have their own guards, so they don't care. You go to the National Assembly, you see people with over 10 policemen attached to them, even people without means of livelihood. That's why ostensible means of livelihood defined, you know. That's why I was happy last week, because I've been calling on the IG to withdraw the policemen who are on guard and escort. And he has given that directive. Has anything been done about it? At least there should be a follow-up. The number of policemen, the police, for instance, is the statutory body charged with the internal maintenance of internal security, not the military. So the police should be the first line of defense. So, in addition with the citizens. So you should now go ahead and implement that directive so that we'll have boots on ground and people to work with. Well, for now, even the police, the army, all their military as constituted now cannot, you know, effectively man our security challenges.
Well, I would like to, it's a good and encouraging thing to see that the Commander-in-Chief is going to the front line to see these men on the ground. And one would want to, you know, ask this question: does it make any real difference, or this is just a symbolic gesture? And also, you know, security agencies have been funded largely even by our, you know, budget, but yet, you know, this insecurity persists. Why is it so difficult for security agencies to get a hang of this situation?
Now, for the president to come and say that he's going to match his word with action, that means there must be alternatives in terms of technology acquisition. Don't also forget that this government is just about 2 years, and that some of these equipment are not bought off the shelf. So some of orders must have been made, changes have been made in the service chiefs, and we expect them to get result. Even if you change everybody, I've always maintained that changing the service chiefs, you remember under Yaradua Buhari, people were calling for change of service chiefs. And I say, if you change the service chiefs, it's not going to make any difference. If the same system is still on ground with lack of equipment, lack of training, lack of welfare for the troops. So I believe that the president should look critically into these areas to ensure that our troops are effectively, equipped, and that will help us in changing the narrative. There's another aspect that I've also been campaigning for, and I don't know why the federal government and the governors have not taken that initiative. Don't forget that some time ago, I think last year, the 36 state governors with the president agreed on the establishment of state police. And that is yet to be. The last NEC meeting they had, it was deferred. And I was quite sad that such an important issue should be deferred. That should have been the first topic before any other one. Because without security, there won't be any meaningful development. So the reason I always emphasize on the establishment of state police, it's just formalization. Because if you look at all the states, they virtually have informal state police with all these task forces, vigilante. So it's just for us to... And don't forget that it's not every state that can afford, state police. But for those who can afford it, they can go ahead and do that. The effectiveness of police cannot be overemphasized, of state police, because the strength is drawn from within the area. People who have local knowledge of the area, they know themselves. In addition with this first line of defense that the DGSSS has been, clamoring for, that people should get themselves organized, get approval in collaboration with the police, the state security service, so that they will get armed to a certain level, because the people fighting us are armed with very dangerous weapons. I would
like you to hold that thought, because we need to go on a quick commercial break now. Don't go anywhere. We have more for you on the program. Stay with us. We'll be